Hey, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel and to another Fog of War puzzle. This one is called What the Fog by SennyK. And there's a little side note on this one. This is dynamic fog, and one of the notes is you have to put in all possible deduced digits before the puzzle will give you more clues to work with. So just know that's the case. Something will clear eventually once you get enough info in here. So with that said, let's take a look at these rules. So it's normal Sudoku. So every row, column, and 3x3 box will contain the digits 1 through 9 once each. Dynamic fog. The grid is partially covered in fog. Entering correct digits may clear fog somewhere in the grid. No guessing is required. So as stated, once all the possibly deduced digits are inserted, fog will clear somewhere else. Then we have our list of basic rules. So arrows, digits long and arrows, sum to the number of the attached two-cell pill, read from left to right. So we do show one of them. I'm wondering if there's multiple of these or if this is just the only one. But anyway, these digits here will add to this pill digit, which means this is the 10 and this is the ones digit because we read from left to right, at least in English and a lot of other languages too, actually. Then we have thermometers. So digits along a gray thermometer increase from bulb to tip. So here's the bulb, here's the tip, digits increase, thermos. Then we got Kropkis. There seems to be a few rule sets to go through. So Kropkis, digits and cells joined by a white dot are consecutive. Digits and cells joined by a black dot are on a 1-to-2 ratio, or one digit we double the other. Not all dots are given. So these two here, because of the white dot, will be consecutive. These two here, because of the black dot, will be in a 1-to-2 ratio. Then we have X's, so digits and cells joined by an X sum to 10. Not all X's are given. So these two will add to 10. And some others may be out there. We also have 3 more rules here. Okay, German whispers, so neighboring adjacent digits along a green line have a difference of at least 5. So let's say there was a green line right here. Whatever this digit is, this one has to at least be 5 away from that one, and so on and so forth down that line. Then we have killers, so killer cages, digits in a cage sum to the total given. Let's say we had a cage like this, and it had a 12 up in the corner. Well, these 4 digits would then add to 12. And then finally, we have region sum lines. So box borders divide a blue line into segments which have the same sum. Let's say we had a line that did this. These 2 digits, because they're in this region, would add to some value. These 3 digits, because they're on the same line, but in a separate region, will add to that same value. These 2, because they're in a different region, will also add to that same value. And those are all of the rules. So with all of that said, let's jump into this thing, see if we can figure it out. Links in the description below, as always. Let's get started. So what are we going to start with is the question. So I don't think there's a whole lot we can do with this thermo and X clue, because essentially this X could be anything except for the 1, 9, because you can't put a 1 in the middle of a thermo, and of course you can't put a 5 but on an X clue, but these could be 2, 8, 3, 7, 4, 6. Any of those things will work. 1, 2, 3. This is a 4-cell. So that means this digit here is either going to be at the lowest a 1, because these could be 1, 2, 3, 4, which is 10. Now, obviously, this can't be 10, but we can get into a ones digit, which it can't be because you can't put 2 on either side, because you put a 1 here, those would both be 2s. Now, the other 2, it's going to be 2 other varieties. In fact, I don't think 3 works, does it? No, 3 won't work. So 2 is going to be the answer, but let's go through it and say why. 9, 8, 7, and 6. Well, that adds to 30. Well, guess what? Can't go higher than 30, and you can't put a 0. So this is 2. Okay, so apparently this was the only thing you can actually deduce, because that created some opening here. But we can say what these guys can be. 1, 3, or 4. I guess we'll move on to here now, because if we've seen the clearance, I guess that hints that we can't say what any of these guys are. So let's start thinking about what these can be. We have 3 digits. What can U be then? Well, it's going to be a low digit, so we can get on to our German whisper, but let's think about the options really realistically. The most it could ever be is a 987, which would be a 24. The lowest it could be would be something in the teens. So this is a 1 or a 2. So that is the low digit, which means this is also a low digit. Can't be 4. These are all high digits. Let's see if we can figure out how these would work, though. So let's think about these for a second. These guys are a minimum of 13 right now and a maximum of 17. There's no, well, no, this can't ever be a 20-something. What did I say? The most this could ever be would be 24. 987. Well, the digits over here can't go that low. This is a 1, which means not a whole lot, because that doesn't tell us what any of these are. I don't think it rules out a 9. Well, I guess this one can't be a 9, can it? Because if that's a 9, this has to be an 8. It's 17 right there. Plus, we would have a minimum of 6. So that's not going to do. Is the 8? The 8's going to be the same way. Is the 7 going to be the same way? No, because the 7 could pair with the 6. And then that would be 13. But actually, that's not true. Because this would then also have to be another 6. So 7 and 6 is 13. 6 would allow us to put 19 here, but you can't put 2 6s. So I think this is going to have to just be a 6, right? Because we're never going to be able to 7 to 8. Yeah, this is 6, which means this is a 1. These are not 6s. Now, this is either 5 or 7. Let's do the math and see if we can figure out what this guy here is. So if we went 6, 7, that's going to break. So this is 5. That is 11, which means you can never be a 9. And you can never be a 7. Okay, now we've got some more information here. We have a 9 cell, and we can't use 1, 5, or 6 to make it. Well, it rules out 8, 1. It rules out 6, 3, and 5, 4. So this has to be a 2, 7. What do you know? We have a 2 down here. That's a 7. That's a 2. That's an 8. That's a 9. Now, did this all work? 11 plus 8 is 19. It did. Now, we're going to have to be able to use some of this information to come back down here now. So how do we go about doing that? Let's think about it for a second. Or we can say these 2 digits are something and maybe think about it that way. Because these are going to be 3s and 4s, right? Yeah, that doesn't really tell us anything, I don't think. There's also the 1 has to go down here, but I don't think that tells us anything. Not really, because we don't know if one of these is a 1. I guess the 8 does rule out the 2, 8 possibility here. So it's either going to be a 3 or a 4 to go with a 6 or a 7. And this is going to be 1, 2, or 3. Wonderful, I know. What about you guys? Don't know. Well, we do know a little bit. There is a 9 on this thing and a 5. Because we can't put 1 here and we can't put any of them here. So this has 9 and 5 in it. That's 14 right there. You're not a 5. Is there anything else? Excuse me. Yeah, we have to put an 8 on here too, because we can never get an 8 to here, because how would you do that? So there's an 8. So now we have 9, 5, and 8. So we're at 22 at the moment. Obviously, we can't stay at 22, but excuse me. So this guy has to at least be a 3. I guess we can just put all that stuff in, although that's pretty much dog water. Anything else? I guess it will have to have whatever is left over from here. because these, let's just put in these options instead of kind of skirting around it. This is either 2, 3, or 5, but it can't be 5 because we can't put the 5 on here. This is how we determine whether there was a 5 here. 1, 2, 3, and 4, yeah. So this is going to have a 6 or a 7 with it. If that's the case, we said we currently had 22, so this has to be either an 8 or a 9. Does that help us too much? I don't know that it does. Okay. Let's just put those in, I guess. 5, 6, 8, and 9, or the 7 was the other option. So, all right. This is not 6. This is not 5. I don't think we can say anything about this tip of a thermo out here because we don't know what it does. What about... No, none of these are givens. We have that quad, but what about you? This is either going to be 1, 4, or 6. That's not exactly helpful. We don't have any other restrictions on here that I can think of at the moment. Actually, is there... No, I don't think there is. I was going to say, is there a restriction to what this can be because of what's going to happen with the rest of this? Because if this was let's say it was a 3, 7, this becomes the 2. This is the 1 and the 4. Well, that doesn't work, does it? Yeah, let's think about that. Or let's rethink about it. What if this is a 3? Well, that forces you to be a 2. You have to be a 1, and you have to be a 4. Last time I checked, 2 and 4 are not consecutive. 4, 6, 1, not 1. And the 1's going to tell us this is the 2 and the 3. And the 2 then says you can no longer be the 6, and you have to be a 3. Good. Now you're not a 1. Now we know what these are, so we can get rid of the 6 option. And let's get rid of all this gobbledygook. Now this is going to be the 8. Hold on. 20, no, the 9, excuse me. 9, 8. Did I do that right? I feel like I've screwed this up in a good way somehow. Because 9, 8, 7 is 24. The 5 would get us to the 9. Did I just go through a whole convoluted nothingness to get to here? I think I did. You must be a 9. I wonder what I messed up there. It worked out in the end, though. I'll be looking at that in the edit, I guess. We do now have a thermo over here. What does it tell us? Let's start thinking about what these options can be. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8, 9. So actually this is as high as it can go. 3, 4, or 5 can't be a 3. 5, 6, 6, 8, 7, 8, 9, I think are all the options. Let me make sure that's accurate. If it goes to a 4, 5, 6, 8, 9 is the best we can do. Yeah. And then 1, 3, 4 says this is either 2, 3, 4, or 5. Can't be 2 or 3. So it goes to the 4 or 5. Then this just goes up incrementally from there. Okay. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. No, not quite. We do know one of these two is the 9, but I don't think that tells us too much. What else can we then say between these guys? Because we're going to have something we can work through, right? Is there anything given in one of these two? 3, 4, 5, 6. No, it doesn't look like it. What about just some Sudoku then? Because one of these two is going to be a 9. Yeah, that's going to tell us this is a 9. Okay. None of those are 9s. Oh, we get more information down here. Good. This is our region sum. So whatever this is, these two have to add to it. I guess the bare minimum here would be a 1, 4. Because we can't use 2 or 3. Oh, it can't be a 1, 4. So 1, 5 then. This would be a 6. at minimum. What about you two? Because you can't be from 3, 6. So 1, 2, 4, 8. This isn't 2. Can this actually ever be a 6? It would have to be a 1, 5. I think that could work. That would be a 5. That would be the 1. This would be a 4. This would be an 8. This would be a 4. Wait, both of these would be 4s? Did I just say that? If this is a 6, this is a 5, this is a 1, this is a 4, 8, 4. These can't both be 4s. So this is not a 6. How helpful is that really going to be? But what about 7? Because it can't be 3, 4, or 5, 2. So it would have to be a 1, 6. This would be the 1. This would be the 6. This would be the 4. This would be the 8. This would be a 4. Same problemo. That's not a 7. Let's keep going down the line, which actually is probably easier just to say what are these digits. 4, 5, 6, 8. Maybe that isn't easier. Okay, let's think about the 8. Is the 8 going to give us the same problem? Because the possibilities are 7, 1. We know if we ever put a 1, we're essentially done for. Because that forces this to be a 1, this to be a 4, this to be an 8 and a 4, and breaking this. So it can't be a 7, 1. It can't be a 6, 2, or a 5. This is 9. You're not. And one of these two is, what does that say about this grouping then? Can't be 8, 1. We've already described the problems with 1-age. Can't be 6, 3. So it is a 4, 5 pair. This is 1. This is the 8. This still is a 4, but we don't have the restriction. So 3, 4. 4, not 7. Thank you. That forces 5, 6, 8, 9. This is not a 1 or a 4, so it is a 3. Okay, that hasn't finalized everything yet. So this is 4 and 5. That hasn't done it. This is a 7. Nope, you don't want to give it to me. You're not 7s. So this is a 5, 8, 9 in some organization. We must have more information we can put into these guys. This is a 6, 7, or something in this fog that we can work with. These, yep, this is a 5, which means this is an 8. Still not quite there. That forces the 1 and the 6. Now we got it. Let's just put these two digits in first, 3 and 4. So we have them here for us. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 digits, which means this has to at least be a 28. Now, the problem is if we put a 2 in here, you can't put a 2 in here. So I think this actually has to just get into the 30s or 40s. Because let's say we didn't use the 2. It'd be 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What's 45 well, we have to use a 9 though. Remember, we have this guy sitting on here. So technically, you couldn't use the 2 and one other digit. Let's say it was the 8. That's 10 off of 45. This has to at least be a 3. Can't be a 4. It's the 3. Okay, so this is a 30-something. And how do we work out what that value is? Can't be a 1. Could be 2. Can't be 3. Can't be 4. Can't be 5. 6, 7, or 8. I guess we just have to think about the values here and work out how these can work. Because let's say this and go through them, I guess. If this was a 32, well, these digits would have to obviously add to 32, but they wouldn't be able to use 2 or 3. So in fact, they would actually add to 40. No go. What about 36? You'd be taking 45 minus 9, which does work. Let's see if the 7 and 8 break though. 37 means there'd be 10 away from 45 out of here, but that's not 37. 8's going to be worse. This is 6, which means this is 7. 6. Good. What are these 3 digits? Maybe we can put them in. 1, 2, and 8. Not quite yet. Okay. I guess we just need to think about where the digits go. Let's start with Sudoku first, though. One of these is a 3. Oh, this is a 3. Sudoku comes in handy. Let's go down the line. Well, I don't know why we started with the 3. I guess because it was looking into this region. Let's go through it this way instead. This is not a 1, obviously. One of those 2 will be. I don't see much there for the moment, so let's move on. 2's not really. Go back to the 3's for a second. Let's see the 4's. One of those 2. Anything else? One of these 2 is a 5. Oh, wait, no, there's not. Sorry. Didn't see these guys reading properly. One of these is a 5, is what I meant. I don't see a whole... Well, one of these 2 is a 5 as well, but that's still not really telling us much. Let's move on from there. One of these will be a 6. There we go. This is a 6. Okay, that's what we needed to get to. Let's just check the 7, 8s, and 9s real quick, just for poops and giggles. And one of these will be an 8, because it may come in handy with these black Kropkis as well. Not quite on those guys. One of those, I don't like that. So let's try the 9s real fast. A 9 down here, blah, blah, blah. And one of okay, the 9 actually is helpful. And because of the black Kropki, so you can't put 9s in any of these. You can't put a 9 there. This is the 9. This is an 8. You're not an 8. Good. So yeah, the Kropkis were helpful there to determine that this had to be a 9. One of those 2 has to be. And now this is obviously not a 5 either. Let's start thinking about what these guys can be. Are they just 1s and 2s? Yeah, they are. Because what do you put in here? The other way to think about it is what can't you put in here? Well, you can't put the 5 and the 7, so this forces the 5, 7, which then leaves over the 1 and the 2. So these have to be from, well, one of them's a 2 and one of them's a 4, because the 1 is going to pair with the 2. The 2 can't pair with the 1. That forces the 8. You're not. You're not an 8 either. Okay. We're getting close here. 5, 7s, 2, 4s. Does that tell us anything else? One of those will be a 4, I think is what that says. Whether or not that's actually useful, I'm not entirely sure. What are the 5s and the 7s? One of those 2 is a 7. Okay. What else do we have to work with? We don't have... Well, this thermo is just sitting here waiting for us to uncover them. And actually, you can see the little edge of it here. I just noticed that. I don't think that necessarily helps because we don't know what this is. It could be the bulb. It could just be part of the thermo line. All right, let's just hop back into our Sudoku now that we have some more information, see what happens. Because I didn't see anything off the cuff necessarily. One of those is a 2. One of those is a 2. One of those is a 1. What else we got? Okay, the 3. One of these is a 3, which means you can't be, which means you are. And that leaves us with an X-wing of 3s for now. Do we have anything else we can work with? You know, one of those is a 4, one of those is a 4. Nothing spectacular there. Let's try the 5s. We already know one of those two. One of those two. Not really that I can see. 6s are just in X-Wing, because it's one of these two and one of those. Okay, let's keep moving then, I guess. Don't see really anything good to look at from the 7 perspective. See if we get more info from our 8s. One of these, no, this one here, right? No. This is an 8. Okay. Still, it's just X-Wings left over. Let's see if the 9s give us any more. Yeah, they do. Looking back at my pencil marks. One of those two and one of those two now. Okay. Let's figure this thing out. Let's maybe just put these guys in and see what we have. Or maybe we think about something like this, where these are a 5, 7, and a 2. And you can't be a 5. That did not help. Okay. What about you 3 maybe? We need 4s, 5s, and 7s. That also is not very helpful. Okay. Let's see then. One of these guys has got to tell us something, right? Where is it? And this little thermo here is needing to show itself. Let's start, I guess we'll just start filling in some of these digits and see what maybe something's intersection. I'm not paying attention to it. 1, 2, 5, and 7. You're not a 2, or a 1. This is not a 5. That's really lackluster. We need 4, 5, and 7 in here. That's not saying a whole lot. Because again, this guy, it doesn't matter the addition of this anymore, so it's not telling us anything. It's just base Sudoku here at the moment. So what clue do we actually have that's going to tell us anything? Do we have to think about this thermo because of what goes on down here? Is that kind of what we're thinking? Or is there something else that we can see? If there is, I don't see it. No, I've gone through the Sudoku a couple of times, so I don't think that's the crux here. 1, 2, 4, 5, and 7. No, that's not really telling us anything here. Okay, let's maybe think about you then. What if you are a 5? Well, that means you're a 6. Actually, I think that breaks. Yeah, maybe it was this thermo we had to think about. Because we can see that it turns here. I can't find anything else in here that we can use to our advantage. But if you say this is a 5, well, what is this? Can't be 3 or 4. And we know that the thermo continues. So it couldn't be a 1. It would have to be a 2, and this would have to be a 1. But what would this be? It wouldn't work. Well, actually, yeah, not because of the thermo, because of we already used the 2 and the 1. This wouldn't have a value. So this is 8 then. 9 and 5 and 7. So this is a 4-7 pair. This isn't a 7. This is a 6-5. So we can do the 6 and the 5. Okay, that pushes this to be a 6. And we still don't really know what this guy does at the end of the day, but let's see if some of this stuff works for us. 1s, 2s, and 7s. You can't be 1s. You are. That's a 2-7 pair. That forces now the 2 and the 1, which says this is the 2 and the 4. That's going to give us the 3 and the 4. That forces this to be the 3 and this to be the 7. What are you guys? 4 and 8. We can do that. This is a 9. What are you? You're a given 4, which means 7, 4. Now it opens up. Okay, so that was it. We had to think about this guy and use that little corner piece there. So this now is the 2 and the 1, which means 2, 5, 1, 7, 5, 2, 5, and 7, and 2, and 7. Okay. Hope you enjoyed the puzzle. If so, I'd appreciate if you rate my puzzle and leave a comment on Logic Masters. Go ahead and do that if you guys want to. 700 and something solves in 5 days, so yeah, certainly approachable. This guy here is a little bit tricky because I usually kind of try to shy away from using these little corners if I can, just because I know some people aren't keen on it, and I do like to try to find another way to prove that a digit that's kind of poking out through the fog, which you can barely see it, could be done otherwise. But I just could not see anything else in the rest of this puzzle, so but the logic held true. So using that was what you can use to determine what that guy was. So anyway, if anybody else found a better way or a different way to determine to get through that stage that I was at, let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear it and take a look at that and see if I just missed something. So anyway, fun puzzle. Hope you all enjoyed it. See you in the next one.